I started running to cope with stress. Work, life, the endless pressure. It all melted away when my feet hit the ground. The trail behind my neighborhood led into a forest, quiet and empty, the kind of place where you could lose track of time. I liked that. But then I started noticing changes. The first time was small. I always passed a rusted bench around the half-mile mark, but one morning it wasn't there. Just bare dirt, like nothing had ever been placed there. I figured I'd taken a wrong turn somehow. Trees look the same when you're half awake and pushing yourself to breathe. The next day the bench was back, but now it had a deep gash across the wooden seat, like someone had taken a blade to it. I stared at it for a few seconds before jogging on. I told myself it had always been that way, that I'd just never paid attention. But I had. I always stopped there to stretch. Each day after that, something else would shift. The trees would grow closer together or further apart. The trail would fork when it never had before, or loop in ways that made no sense. One day, the moss on the tree trunks was a deep, almost black green. The next, it was gone entirely, replaced by clusters of white fungi that looked like small, grasping fingers. I started mapping the trail on my phone. I'd use a GPS app and compare routes. Every time, the path looked different. Not just slightly, wildly. The trails twisted and turned into patterns that hadn't been there before. The timestamps proved it. But the app would never let me retrace a strange route. If I followed a bizarre looping path one day, it would be gone the next, replaced by a straight line or a dead end. Still, I kept going. I don't know why. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the way the air felt when I stepped under that canopy. Cooler, quieter, separated from the world. Last Friday, something changed in a way I couldn't ignore. It was overcast. I started my jog like always. But the trail narrowed quickly, the trees pressing close. I didn't recognize anything. Not the trees, not the undergrowth, not the heavy silence that settled over everything like fog. No birdsong, no breeze. Just the sound of my footsteps and the slow pounding of my heart. I turned around to go back. The trail behind me was gone. No joke. No exaggeration. I turned and it was just trees. Dense and dark. I took a few steps in every direction, trying not to panic. My phone still tracked my steps, but the map showed a blank space. Just green. No trail. No landmarks. I told myself I must have gone off trail and just didn't realize it. Maybe I wandered during a daydream. That happens, right? So I picked a direction and walked. I walked for what felt like an hour. The trees didn't change. The light didn't shift. It was like time had frozen. My legs ached, and every part of me screamed that something was wrong. The forest felt aware, like it was watching, like it was waiting. That's when I saw the cabin. Small, rotting wood, a single door, half open. No windows. It hadn't been there 5 seconds ago, and I was sure of it. I didn't want to go in. But what were my options? The forest wasn't letting me out. Maybe this place had something. Supplies. A map. Something to make sense of this. I pushed open the door. It creaked, of course. The inside was dim and smelled like damp wood and decay. There was a chair in the middle of the room. And on the chair, God help me, was a shoe. My shoe. The left one. I was wearing both when I left the house. I checked my foot. Both shoes still on. I backed away. Something crunched underfoot. I looked down. Dozens of objects were scattered across the floor. My keychain. A cracked screen protector from my old phone. The wristband I lost at the gym 2 months ago. Things I'd lost. Things I thought I'd misplaced or dropped. They were all here. A thud upstairs made me freeze. Slow, deliberate footsteps moved across the floor above me. There shouldn't have been a second floor, not from the outside. The cabin had looked barely tall enough to stand in. The footsteps stopped. Then the voice came. "You've been here before." It wasn't loud. It was soft, like a whisper pressed directly into my ear, even though I was alone. I bolted. I didn't think. I just ran, tearing through the trees, through bushes, ignoring the thorns that clawed at my arms. I didn't stop until I saw pavement. The trailhead. Just there. Normal. As if nothing had happened. I stumbled out, covered in scratches, gasping like I'd been drowning. Since then, I've told no one. I deleted the trail app. I haven't gone back to the forest. But sometimes when I walk past the edge of the woods, I swear the trees lean toward me, like they recognize me, like they're waiting. And last night on my porch, I found something sitting by the door, one of my running shoes, the left one.